You may need to consult your local regulatory agency before making changes to your operation, including the facility or equipment. Once installed, flooring, walls, and ceilings must be regularly maintained. Replace missing or broken ceiling tiles. Do the same for flooring. Repair all holes in walls. Coving is curved, sealed edge between a floor and a wall. It gets rid of sharp corners or gaps that are hard to clean. Coving should be glued tightly to the wall to get rid of hiding places for insects. This also protects the wall from moisture. If standing water occurs due to spraying or when flushing the floors during cleaning, remove the water as quickly as possible. Food service equipment must meet certain standards if it will come into contact with food. That includes being smooth, easy to clean, durable, and resistant to damage. Organizations such as NSF have developed standards like this for the sanitary design and construction of food service equipment. They also certify equipment that meets these standards. Other organizations classify equipment or evaluate it to ensure that it meets the standards developed by others. These organizations must be accredited by the American National Standards Institute, or ANSI. When purchasing equipment, look for the NSF mark, the ULEPH classified mark, or the ETL sanitation mark. These indicate that the equipment has been certified or classified for sanitation under the ANSI accredited program. When installing equipment, follow the manufacturer's recommendations. And maintaining equipment, set up a maintenance schedule with your supplier or manufacturer and check equipment regularly. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions when installing, operating, and maintaining dishwashers, and use detergents and sanitizers approved by the local regulatory authority. When selecting dishwashing machines, make sure they can measure both water temperature, water pressure, cleaning and sanitizing, chemical concentrations. Post information about the correct settings on the machine. When cleaning the dishwashing machines, clean them as often as necessary and follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Hand washing stations should be put in areas that make it easy for staff to wash their hands often. Hand washing stations are required in restrooms directly next to them or in areas used for food prep, service, and dishwashing. Hand washing sinks must be used only for hand washing and not for any other purpose. And to prevent cross-contamination, make sure adequate barriers are present on hand washing sinks, or that there is adequate distance between hand washing sinks and food contact surfaces so that water cannot splash on these items. Make sure these stations work correctly and are well stocked and maintained. They must also be available at all times. This means that hand washing stations cannot be blocked by portable equipment or stacked full of dirty kitchenware. Hand washing stations must have a way to dry hands. a garbage can, and signage. An operation uses many utilities and building systems. Utilities include water, electricity, gas, sewage, and garbage disposal. Building systems include plumbing, lighting, and ventilation. There must be enough utilities to meet the needs of the operation. In addition, the utilities and systems must work correctly. If they do not, the risk of contamination is greater. There are national standards for water in the United States that are enforced by each regulatory authority. Only water that is drinkable can be used for the preparation of food and come in contact with food contact surfaces. This is called potable water. Plumbing that is not installed or maintained correctly can allow drinkable and unsafe water to be mixed. This can cause foodborne illness outbreaks. Have only licensed plumbers work on the plumbing in your operation. The greatest challenge to water safety comes from cross connections. A cross connection is a physical link between safe water and dirty water, which can come from drains, sewers, or other wastewater sources. A cross connection is dangerous because it can lead to backflow. Backflow can be the result of pressure pushing contaminants back into the water supply. It can also happen when high water use in one area of an operation creates a vacuum in the plumbing system that sucks contaminants back into the water supply. A running faucet below the food rim of a sink is an example of a cross connection that can lead to backstenophage. A running hose in a mop bucket is another example. The best way to prevent backflow is to avoid creating a cross connection. A vacuum breaker is a mechanical device that prevents backstenophage. It does this by closing a check valve and sealing the water supply line shut when the water flow is stopped. Other mechanical devices are used to prevent backflow. These include double check valves and reduced pressure zone backflow preventers. These devices include more than one check valve for sealing off the water supply. They also provide a way to determine if the check valves are operational. A buildup of grease in pipes is another common problem in plumbing systems. Grease traps are often installed to prevent grease buildup from blocking the drain. If used, they should be put in by a licensed plumber and be easy to access. Also, make sure they are cleaned regularly. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations. If the traps are not cleaned often enough or correctly, dirty water can back up, and this backup could lead to odors and contamination. Good lighting makes it easier to clean things in your operation, and it also provides a safer environment. Lighting intensity is how bright the lights are in the operation, and it is usually measured in units called foot candles or lux. Local jurisdictions usually require prep areas to be brighter than other areas. This allows staff to recognize the condition of food. It also allows staff to identify items that need cleaning. Once the appropriate level of lighting has been installed in each area of the facility, you must monitor it. Replace any bulbs that have burned out and make sure they are the correct size. All lighting should have shatter-resistant light bulbs or protective covers. These products prevent broken glass from contaminating food or food contact surfaces. Staff must be careful when removing garbage so they do not contaminate food or food contact surfaces. Clean the inside and outside of garbage containers frequently. This will help to prevent contamination of food and food contact surfaces and reduce odors and pests. Garbage containers must be covered when not in constant use. Women's restrooms must include a covered receptacle for sanitary napkins. Waste and recyclables must be stored separately from food and food contact surfaces. The storage of these items must not create a nuisance or a public health hazard. Place outdoor garbage containers on a surface that is smooth, durable, and non-absorbent. Asphalt and concrete are good choices. Poor maintenance can cause food safety problems in your operation. To prevent these issues, follow the recommendations noted on the slide. Certain crises can affect the safety of the food that you serve. Common crises include electrical power outages, fire, flooding, or sewage backups. Temperature control. Power failures and refrigeration breakdowns can threaten your ability to control the temperature of TCS food, which can result in growth of pathogens. Physical security. Unauthorized people inside a facility are also a risk to food safety. This is especially true when they can access storage and processing areas. Also, acts of nature can weaken a facility's security. Threats to the drinkable water supply must also be considered. Broken water mains and breakdowns at water treatment facilities are a risk to the safety of food. Terrorist contamination of the water supply could also be a threat. In a crisis, it is important you consider the risk of safety and security of your food. If a significant risk is posed, then stop service and notify the local regulatory authority. Regardless of how the problem is corrected, you will need approval from the local regulatory authority before you continue service. The regulatory authority may allow an operation to continue operating in the event of a water or electrical interruption. To do this, however, there are certain conditions that you will have to meet. That includes having a written emergency operating plan that is approved in advance by the local regulatory authority. You'll also have to make sure that you're taking immediate corrective action to prevent, eliminate, or control any food safety risks or imminent health hazards associated with the interruption. And finally, the regulatory authority has to be informed whether you implement your emergency operating plan. This concludes Chapter 9. Please use your ServSafe Food Manager book to apply your knowledge of this chapter to get extra study practice in.